Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Leadership Trail Mix. I am Miguel Oliveira, and for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be together looking at some of the many elements that compose this art and science called people leadership. My goal is that at the end of it, you can have some food for thought and inspiration to be a better version of yourself, not only for your team at work, but for everyone you cross paths with. Well, this is not the first time that I acknowledge while kind of make fun of acronyms and how hard they make the life of those who, like me, don't have English as their first language. In today's episode, we will unpack two acronyms. One that you probably know, it can mean two different things, and one that I came up with to talk about burnout. Both acronyms are in the title of this reflection, MVP and IVC. Starting with MVP, in sports, it stands for Most Valuable Player, the person that scored the most, the person that played the better, the person that was the start of the game. But if you're talking about projects, MVP means Minimal Viable Product, a version of a product that has just enough features to be used by early customers. Okay, but what is the relationship between the two, right? Well, more and more I hear about it, and more we are touched by the speed of things, the volume of things, and by how much it is hard to prioritize. You may have heard about this methodology that has 4 quadrants, and before you think it, let me clarify. I'm not getting obsessed with quadrants, okay? The fact that the last episode and this one have them is just a coincidence. I do love frameworks, though, and how they help us think through things, and it so happens that a lot of them involve quadrants. So the framework I'm referring to today is called the Eisenhower Matrix, where you plot tasks based on importance and urgency. What I've seen throughout my career more and more recently is the idea that for people to be considered MVPs, the most valuable players, they need to be able to do everything all the time, all at once. Everything is urgent, everything is important, everything has the power to destroy one's career, and it's not only urgent and important, it also requires impeccable quality, or as some would call, perfection. Which, as you probably know by now, I am a strong believer that doesn't exist. Perfection doesn't exist. But my challenge for us today is, how can we challenge this idea? The sickening and potentially killing idea that being a high performer, a high potential, which by the way are two very different things and we will explore in a different episode, but how can we challenge that it should not mean doing everything? I have a proposal. I think it's about time for us to replace this misconception by the idea of most valuable players being those who know what they should say yes to, what they should say no to, what they should say not now to, and what they should say not me to. Lastly, they should know what the minimum viable product is for the deliverables they say yes to. Something that I say frequently is that sometimes we create 179 pages of slide decks with animations and transitions and images when a phone call, an email, or even a note on the back of a napkin would suffice. It's our responsibility as leaders to set expectations for our teams. And it's also our responsibility to empower them and create an environment where they can set expectations for themselves when we're not around. And here we will touch on burnout, which I personally see as a consequence of the wrong definitions of success we've just talked about. While not recognizing it as a medical condition, the World Health Organization describes occupational burnout as an occupational phenomenon resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed, with symptoms characterized by feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. It is classified as a mismatch between the challenges of work and a person's mental and physical resources. I really want us to focus on the last sentence here, a mismatch between challenges of work and a person's mental and physical resources. And I'll introduce here the second acronym, IVC. Yes, it can mean integrated value creation, Irvine Valley College, Inferior Vena Cava, but in this case, these three letters represent my interpretation of the three things that can lead to burnout: intensity, volume, and content. They can show up independently or as a combination of the two or even the three of them. The words are very self-explanatory, right? Starting from the end, content is when the work you do does not connect to your purpose and values. You may work 9 to 5, make a good salary, but don't feel proud or fulfilled by it, or a significant portion of it. That may be a constant or happen sporadically. Volume is when maybe you love the work you do, but the amount of work, the number of hours you have to work, make it hard on you and don't allow you to find balance or to get the necessary rest. Intensity is about the amount of effort and energy you despend to get your work or a significant part of it done. Is any of it sounding familiar by now? From the bottom of my heart, I hope it's not. And I hope that the combination of the Wikipedia definition of burnout I mentioned earlier, combined with the simple explanation of what causes burnout that I came up with, helped you see that maybe what you've been calling burnout is actually something else. This is what I hope, but chances are that this is not the case for a lot of us. Okay, Miguel, thank you for breaking the news. What do I do with it then? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think it's easy to think that the only thing we can control is the intensity piece, right? But that's not true. I mean, at least not completely true. Intensity is the one that is mostly in our circle of control, but we can at least influence the other two. Yes, life is not a fairy tale. I need to work, and doing only the work we like to do is close to impossible. Also, there is no perfect job. Yes, perfection doesn't exist anywhere. What we can do is set boundaries, and back to where we started, behave as a true MVP that knows when to say yes, no, not now, not me, that truly differentiates urgent and not urgent, important and not important, that doesn't do everything all the time all at once, that knows what the minimum viable product is, either by asking or just because have been there and done that. You and I have a daily opportunity to challenge the status quo and change the world, one misconception at a time. Are you up to it? It's call to action time. I want to invite you to reflect on your own work situation. Are intensity, volume, and/or content driving you to a burnout situation? If so, look for help. Talk to someone today. Look for medical help if needed. Don't wait for things to get better while watching them get worse. If you have the strength to do so, set new boundaries, change your routine, manage your calendar differently. You are not a hostage. The door of the cell is open, and you can get out of it, jump on the driver's seat of a car, and go away from it, either literally or figuratively. And of course, as a leader, help your team redefine what being an MVP means. Empower them to redefine what success looks like at the team level, even if the rest of the organization thinks differently. Also, I hope you've been able to create an environment where people feel valued without having to burn themselves to ashes. If that's not the case, start today. Read the signs your team might be showing you. Talk to them. Support them. Don't let it linger. Don't pretend you're not seeing and expect them to figure it out by themselves. We were given the honor to lead for a reason. Let's not waste it, okay? Let's use it for good. It is a choice. And here, I'll quote a section of one of Seth Godin's recent posts. We simply have to find the guts to wake up. Choice brings responsibility, and responsibility is often accompanied by fear. That's okay. You can't run a marathon without getting tired. And you can't do important work when you are asleep. That's all. If you know someone out there who needs to hear this message, please share it. Thank you for listening. Take care and talk soon.